together, you know, throughout the first year, second year. This is the first time they could be working with each other. So they will have to manage their time and their project budget. Okay, project budget can be small, can be big. Small can be as small as $500 Singapore dollar. Big can be as high as $5,000 to $10,000. Okay, so that is the kind of range we're talking about. So of course they cannot just simply buy. There are certain procedures which will require them to follow. Okay, so that kind of procedure, this is the first time again they are involved in such big thing. So they do not know what is getting things value for money. It's not like they're using their father's money or their mother's money. They are using the school's money, the faculty's money. So everything must be accounted for, and whatever they buy must be of value for money. So when it exceeds a certain quantum, they are required to get 3 quotations, I believe, and I spoke to Professor Mana on your side also follow the same, almost the same kind of structure. Okay, so students are required to keep a portfolio of what they do, write reports, present their ideas orally, and demonstrate their project to different audiences through a show and tell. There will be a lot of show and tell throughout the whole project. Okay, so we tell them, okay, right from the onset, 50% of the total marks will be allocated to the way in which they conceive the ideas, design their project, and implement. Implement means building the projects. Okay, and then how they communicate. There will be a lot of occasions for them to present their work. So there will be a lot of occasions where they communicate their ideas to their peers as well as to the lecturers. And they will also have to show how well they manage their projects. Okay? So there will be an exhibition among every one of them towards the end, and the distinction panel comprising of both lecturers, their own supervisors, as well as supervisors who are not supervising them to gauge their project. And we also invite industry panels to provide their viewpoints and marks as well. Okay, so through this broad spectrum of assessment, hopefully at the end of the day, the final marks is fair and equitable. Well, this is an objective we always strive to attain. Okay, there will sometimes be some students who say they are unfairly graded. Okay, we will have to deal with it on a case-to-case basis. Okay, and sometimes it can be very, very heated up, I can tell you. Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule that is their mark. Okay, they will have to justify sometimes. Okay, so there will be a lot of negotiation, discussion, and finally we will have to arrive at some finality. Okay, so as I said, we have told them that we will assess them on the C, D, and I skill, 50% of it on these 3 skills. So out of these 3 skills, okay, 20 to 50% will be allocated to conceive and design, and the implement will vary between 80 and 50. Now, that means every project is different, and we do not want to prescribe one assessment for all. So certain projects require the students to do more conceiving, do more research, okay, finding out their own projects. Then the conceiving part will carry a higher weightage. But if there are certain projects which we are more or less crafted out for them, example, if we have a project on solar car, which requires them to work on and participate in this World Solar Challenge. So the conceiving part will consist of a smaller element because the project is more or less conceived up for them. Okay, all right. It's not that they have to find their own project. Okay, so normally in the conceived part, if they have to find out on their own, we will ask them to come up with 3 different projects, and then ask them to present their different project ideas, and then we will assess them why they choose their final ideas. So there will be a presentation by them to show the 3 different ideas, and then finally why they choose that particular idea to be their final project. So So if they have such occasion, then the allocation for conceive will be higher. Okay. So if they choose 20%, then of course the implement project will be higher weightage, 80%. If the design is 50, then of course this will be 50. Okay. So among the C and D criteria, the weightage can be subdivided into smaller components. Research analysis, for us, we allocated 40% or 40 marks. Creative idea will be graded as 30 marks. Block diagram, circuit diagram, flow chart, Gantt chart, etc. will give them 30%. So in other words, we will have a more structured way of marking them so that they know what to produce. Okay? It's not that they just, oh, I have this idea. That's all I have. We want them to show why and how they arrive at that particular decision. Okay? And similarly, for the implement, it is subdivided further into 3 other sub-criteria. Technical knowledge, if something requires them to know a lot of technical knowledge and skills, okay, we allocate 50%. How much effort they put in, the success story, 25%. So in other words, okay, here I want to highlight that the success of the project is not the ultimate aim. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we want to test them and assess them on the process rather than the product and final outcome. Okay? Sometimes the outcome, they may not get any outcome, but they have already shown proof that they have tried and tried and tried. Okay? So therefore, we reward them for putting effort in showing the various methods of trying to work out the final solution. So we do give weightages for projects that falls into that category. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we want the students to carry with them a lifelong skill. It's not a final product. If they know how to do the product successfully, will they be very successful? Answer to that obviously is no. Doing a particular project successful doesn't mean they're very successful in life. But if they are very successful in knowing how to do certain things, and they can use that skill and translate the skill into lifelong other projects, then I think that student will be more successful than the other person who has completed a particular project successfully. So therefore, we are shifting the weightage away from successfully completing a project to the other part which they have shown proof to have done it, to have carried out a process successfully. Okay? So example. So this is an example. It's just an example. Let's say C and D, we allocate 30%. The implement part is 70%. So an example of this could be something which more or less, the scope of this is not very wide. Okay, the lecturer have more or less scoped it for them. So their conceiving part becomes a lot more narrower. So therefore, the conceiving and the design part is given a smaller weightage. Okay, and therefore a bigger portion is put into the building portion. Okay, so when you have a situation like that, then this is the recommendation. Another example of this could be a carry on from previous projects, because the previous projects the student already done, but they couldn't achieve the solution successfully. So this year you want another group of students to work on it. So if you are working on it, that means the conceiving part will be very more limited. Okay, so but then we want them to change the way in which they design, change in which they build. Okay, so therefore the weightage do change. Okay, so the research analysis, let's say for this particular instance, the students get 35 out of 40 creative ideas. How creative is the solution? 25 out of 30 block diagram and flow chart. Okay, 35 out of 30. So in this particular portion, let's say student obtain 85 out of 100, and then for the build, okay, they get the following percentages: 40 out of 50, 20 out of 25, and 20. So all this, we made it very transparent to the students. Okay, so that when students challenge us, we can actually show them. Okay. So ultimately, the weightage of the students for this portion is 82. So 82 for the CDI percentage. Okay, 82 of the 50. All right. So then the next portion, okay, communication skills. Okay, written report again is being subdivided into 4 criteria which we are looking for. Oral presentation, again, subdivided into 4 subcategory, and the portfolio is divided into 2 subcategory. Now, all these, of course, is subject to change, which your thing deem fit, all right? So it's just a recommendation, all right? So this is what our team of so-called the team. We have a team of staff who manage all these MDPs. So they have come up with these various criteria, all right? So initial report, what does it mean? It has to be submitted in the middle of first term after the conceive and design. Okay? For this portion, the final report, okay, to be submitted at the end of the second term, that means towards the end of the semester, after the implementation. There will be a final year report, a final semester report. Oral presentation to be done regularly, and this is done every fortnightly to the lecturers and other students in the lab. So every one of them, okay, will be required to present, okay? So this is to polish up their presentation skills. So for us in Singapore, English is the medium of instruction, so obviously they will be presenting in English. So for your case, if your medium instruction is in Thai, and that is the language you want to build their communication skills in, then you will be assessing them in Thai, okay? So English will not be assessed here. English to your perhaps could be used as a foreign language, all right? So again, you have to tailor it to your needs. And oral presentation, for the final project presentation, there will be one final presentation, okay, when they have completed everything, to be done at the end of the second term after they completely, when they have built their project, okay? So there will be one final presentation, and a portfolio. We want them to keep a record of what they have done, either daily or weekly, and we want them to maintain a log of their progress. So we gave them a log book, and nowadays we also encourage them to build up a blog. Okay? Now, this is very important. We stress it to students when they apply to the universities. Increasingly, the universities and prospective employers do not just look at their marks. In fact, a lot of universities nowadays and employers, they want to see what the students have done. A super A student is no good for industry. That's what the industry told us. They rather have somebody who is average in their marks, but can do projects well, very resourceful, independent, okay? They are leader in their own rights. They prefer to have this type of student, rather than to have a bookworm, okay? So how to show that they have done their work? So if they have a blog, and I said in some of this interview panel for students, SIT, I don't know whether you heard of this SIT, I said in the interview, and we asked the students, show proof what they have done. So there was one student who was so impressive. He said, okay, you want to see my blog? Okay, this is what you go to and log in this particular blog. I've done my work. So we have our notebook with us. We log into the blog, and he logged in all their work in the blog, every week what they have done. So instead of doing it on a logbook, which is very structured, this fellow has done it in a blog form, which they can put in pictures, they can put in their progress, their design when they are building, you know. You can really see their work alive, you know. So it is very good. A blog is a very good thing to embark on. And if they can show some multimedia, better still. So this portion will account for a total of 15% of the marks. Okay, each criteria is about 10%. All right. So, and the next criteria, which is the project management, as I said earlier on, we have allocated 15% for this. Okay, and that can be subdivided into the following criteria: attendance and punctuality. We actually require the students to mark the attendance. We have electronic attendance taking equipment in our lab. So every morning when they come, they will tap. Okay, so we want them to be punctual. All right, we want to capture the attendance. Okay, because one whole semester with no lecture, do they come or not? If they don't take the attendance, they may just go outside and work, you know. And then at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, they just come back, you know. Okay, so it can happen. So we want to take the attendance, okay, and we want to ensure that there's discipline. So the lecturer will be watching them very closely, all right? The technical staff will also be watching them very closely, how they behave themselves. So we want to ensure that they are well disciplined. Time management is through how they block, how they put in the work in the logbook, okay? Deadlines, whether they meet their deadlines. So in other words, when it comes to presentation, are they ready or not? Oh, when it comes to presentation, oh, everything is not ready. When it comes to, quiz, we do have quiz, oh, not ready. So a lot of things, if it's not ready, then this particular student is very bad at time management, okay? Respect for deadlines. Budget management, so we give them a budget, we told them how to buy things and how to procure things, okay? We do have a store, which I understand, Professor Mana, you also have a store. So we have a store which allow them to draw out free of charge components from IC chips to resistors to capacitors to power supply. So a lot of things. They can actually go to the web. We have is linked up to the web. They can, from their home, they can mark the things that they want to draw out, and then the technical staff in charge of the store will package it for them. The next day, everything was packaged for them. Okay, this is what you have wanted. So our stores is like a shop for them to dish out to them what they want. Okay, so they are, if they want LEDs, they can just 10 LED, how many resistor? So it will be packaged. When they submit through online, it will be routed to the supervisor. If I'm the supervisor, it will be routed to me to check whether it's reasonable or not. Because we don't want the student to say, I want 100 LED. Wow. The technical staff are in no position to say no. So the supervisor have to just to make sure that, okay, this particular project requires 100 LED, if it's really required. So it's being routed through the supervisor and then back to the technical staff. The technical staff will just package it for them, and then when they come to the store, there's a counter for them. They will just draw it out, and then that's it. And anything that cannot be obtained from the store, they will have to go to, in Singapore, do you know where is the best place to buy electronic equipment? Where is it? Sim Lim, not Sim Lim Square, Sim Lim Tower. It's diagonally opposite to Sim Lim Square. Sim Lim Square is those who have they sell the completed computer. But if you want components, okay, our students will go to Sim Lim Tower. That's where most of the wholesalers from India, from Myanmar, from Cambodia, from Vietnam, they actually go there and buy in bulk. It's really very good place to buy all the electric equipment. So if Professor Mana, you want to go and buy some of these things, it's really very good. From time to time, I also go there and look at some of these things, because if you are somebody who like to play around with things, you will find that that is a playground for you. Okay, so the student will go there and then they will scout around and see where, from store to store which is the cheapest place to buy their components. And then if it's below $200 Singapore dollars, after they have consulted the supervisor, they can just go and buy and claim through the lecturers, through the supervisor. Okay, so in fact, for my group of students, they don't just go to Sim Lim Tower to buy, they also scout around the whole world through the internet. Okay, and they have bought a bicycle from China. Okay, because their project, for this year, I have a project where they use a bicycle, they retrofit it with a filter, and they put in a solar panel on top, because they get the idea from Thailand. It was flooded 2 years ago. So when it's flooded, where do you get the water? Filtered water? No filtered water. So they have decided to build a bicycle which can pedal to generate electricity to charge the battery. And if there's sunlight, the sunlight will charge the battery that runs the pump to filter dirty water from flood water into clean water and go around and supplying water to all the various people. So that was this group of my project students. Okay, so they will use this one to go to Thailand, to Indonesia, to all these third world country, and maybe sell this idea to them. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, it's a prototype. All right, so they went to China, and through internet they bought. In Singapore, the cheapest bicycle can get, because they needed a 3-wheeler bicycle. All right, so in Singapore, not easy to get a 3-wheeler bicycle. Who would ride a 3-wheeler bicycle? So they go to China, they bought one, which is only about 100 over Singapore dollar. Wow, it was very, very cheap. So many things now they go